Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Browning. I'm with our partner sales enablement team here at salesforce.com. And I'm really excited to welcome you to a Dreamforce session, which is the first of its kind. And it's the first of its kind because in the partner success track, the other sessions are very focused on technology and functionality. And this is the first time that we've dedicated a session to partner sales enablement. I would like to start. Could you please raise your hand up high if you are with a consulting partner, GSI or RSI? Okay, good. Looks like most. Also, raise your hand if you are with an ISV or an OEM. Okay, thank you. Raise your hand if you just are here because you heard about the $50,000 we're giving away. All right, we have a couple. Good. All good sales presentations will have some sort of monetary involvement, and this one does as well. I need to draw your attention to our safe harbor statement, and if you're not familiar with this, you can find it on our corporate website. So let's look at this picture. When you look at this picture, I want you to consider for a moment, what does this picture represent to you? Gentleman here in the red in the front. When you look at this picture, teamwork. Very good. Anybody else? Teamwork actually, comes very close to hitting it on the head. The word I'm looking for is alignment, and we feel that alignment between Salesforce and our sales teams and partners is really key to our mutual success when it comes to you selling your technology and your services. And I want to give you an example of how we feel messages are strengthened and they're reinforced when they're delivered consistently across multiple channels. If I go into a customer and I talk about, say, salesforce.com having a 95% customer satisfaction rate, and you as a partner are in that same customer room the following week when I'm not there, and you are able to deliver that same message consistently, it's reinforced. And in large part, that's what we're looking for, and what we're going to be talking about throughout the duration of this session is how we can better align as a way to drive mutual success. We're doing this by delivering our best sales resources to you, and we're doing this through the Sales Resource Center, which is your primary place, your primary go-to resource for all things sales related. And so in here we have sales kits by cloud. We're doing live webinars. We have the Selling Success webinar. It happens on roughly a monthly basis. We have various tools like ROI calculators, reference libraries, pricing information, competitive information. And again, this is all in the Sales Resource Center. What's new and what we're going to talk about today is something called a cloud playbook. And the cloud playbook is a framework for selling success. It's really two things. One is it is sort of a level setting on our current market messaging. And the second is it's a roadmap for opportunity engagement. And what I mean by that is when we set out to go win a sales opportunity, there's a certain framework that we like to approach that deal from. And so we're going to talk about what that framework looks like, and we're also going to do a bit of level setting. And specifically what we're going to talk about in this presentation is the Service and Custom Cloud because of the immense market opportunity that we feel these two clouds specifically represent. When compared to the Sales Cloud or the SFA market, the Service Cloud and Custom Cloud markets really dwarf that. And so that's where we see the biggest potential, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's presentation. So the first part will be about the Service Cloud, and the second part will be about the Custom Cloud. And we are going to talk at the end about the 5 $10,000 awards that we are giving away, so you want to make sure you stick around for that. And we have time carved out for questions and answers. Now, I've made arrangements for 2 of my colleagues here to present the 2 respective cloud playbooks, and that is Mark Woodward and Robert Chang. And at this point, we are going to go ahead and kick off with the Service Cloud playbook, so I'd like to welcome up Mark Woodward. Mark, come on up, please. There's a clicker, and Mark's going to take us through the Service Cloud playbook.
Great, thanks. Thanks very much, Matt. So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Woodward. I'm part of our partner sales agency. I've been with Salesforce for about 4 years, helping our partners sell into a variety of different sectors. So, really excited today to be talking to you about the Service Cloud. So, I actually like to start by putting up a nice big number and see if anybody in the room can take a guess as to what this represents. Anybody want to take a guess? Matt kind of gave us a little clue a minute ago. 4.2 billion. No. It's a good guess. It's not a bad one. So the guess was Salesforce sales since the beginning of the company. It's, not sure what that number is, but I don't think it's quite that large. Any others? No? It's fantastic. The market opportunities is exactly that. So this is the predicted size of the customer service and support market opportunity by 2012. So there's a significant market opportunity for us to go after here. It's a much bigger market than Salesforce automation. So this is why Salesforce is so excited about the Service Cloud and why we hope you'll be excited too, is it represents a really good opportunity for us to grow. And of course, you'll be pleased to know you're working with the right partner. So in the on-demand customer service space, we currently have a 55% market share. So you're definitely working with a partner that can execute successfully in the Service Cloud and is really well positioned to take advantage of that $4.2 billion market opportunity. And actually, if we think about that $4.2 billion, a lot of the money that's spent in there is around services and implementation and complementary products. So yeah, we definitely see a good opportunity for ourselves. There's a really great opportunity for our partners as well. So that's why we want to make sure that we're aligned and that we can both be successful there. So why is it that we win? Well, fundamentally, it comes back to the products and services that we offer. So yeah, we have a great set of feature-rich products that can handle the traditional channels, like you've been hearing around call centers and email and chat, but also connects those channels out to the newer channels, so social media and web searching. So there's a good set of tools to go to market with. They're functionally comparable to the solutions that have been there for a long time. But of course, it's not just about the features and functions. It's also about the platform that sits underneath that and the infrastructure that underpins that. So our killer differentiator is the way that we actually deliver these solutions and take away a lot of that complexity that our customers will be struggling with in their existing call center solutions. And in fact, when Rob takes the stage later today, he's going to be going through the custom cloud playbook, and we'll really get into the details of how that platform helps people to be flexible and to respond to their needs. But even in the Service Cloud, that's a really key differentiator for us, and it's important to understand how we use that to address the concerns that people would have. And so as we get into the playbooks in a moment, I'll be talking through some of the things that drive a sale into the Service Cloud and how we use these messages to be successful. Whoa. So fundamentally, why do people buy Service Cloud solutions? Well, it comes down to one of two things. It typically comes down to, I'm a company, I've sold some products, I've got some customers, and I need to keep those customers loyal. So the more loyal I can keep those customers, I'm protecting the revenue stream that I get in from them. And of course, that's important to me because that affects my top line revenue. But of course, customers will have issues, they'll have problems with the products that we've sold. So we need to be able to support them and give them an excellent level of service to protect that loyalty. But of course, every dollar that I spend on providing that service is taking away from my profit line. So I have this delicate balance between I need to be providing top level of service to keep those customers loyal, but I need to do that with as little investment as I can to maintain the profitability of my company. So whenever people are looking at Service Cloud solutions, they're really trying to balance out two things. They're trying to provide excellent level of customer satisfaction, but at the same time doing that with fewer resources, so keeping that cost of providing it lower. And those are the fundamental drivers as to why they're going to come to us and come and buy a new Service Center solution. So in terms of the session today, the first thing we'd like to do is just share with you our positioning and ask you to just spend a little bit of time thinking about this, kind of get it into your mind so that when we're both talking to our customers and we're both pitching these products, back to Matt's point around alignment, we can be giving consistent messages and really make sure that we're both hitting the same points so that you can be successful in implementing it, and of course, we can be successful in selling the services that sit underneath that. And the Service Cloud toolkit on the partner portal is going to help with understanding that positioning. So one of the takeaway actions would be to go to the partner portal, look at the sales kits. There's a whole lot of information around positioning and white papers and helping you to understand the product. So we're going to touch on it briefly today, but in the short time that we have available, we'll go through that at a pretty high level. And there's a lot of good material there to get the real details underneath it. Step two is then to understand and align with our playbooks. But really the reason we're sharing our playbooks with you is yes, so you can understand where we're coming from and can align with it. But more importantly, it's so that you can then develop your own version of that playbook. So you're going to have your own unique pitch that goes around the way that we go to market, and that's going to help you to differentiate from other competitors as well. So I guess the second action is to align around what we're saying, but obviously you'll want to develop your own pitch and make that consistent with your unique value to the market. So the playbooks we're going to look at isn't just something that we sat down and kind of thought, yeah, this is going to be a good way to sell service. We went out and interviewed successful sales teams from around our company. So we picked probably the top 30 sales teams, the kind of A players, and just interviewed them around, why did people buy Service Cloud? What were the things that you picked up on? What were the plays that were successful for you? Which parts of the product were you showing? What are the messages that worked? And we've condensed all that down into 3 major playbooks that summarize how we would go to market and what we'd be looking to talk to our customers about. So the playbook is really our mutual roadmap for success. So the 3 that we've come up with are around customers who are concerned with cost and risk. So people who have concerns around the technical risk or the process risk or the infrastructure risk of their existing solution. People who are interested in social media, wanting to keep up with what's happening in the market. And then those who have a concern around customer satisfaction. So if you remember I said right at the beginning, the two reasons people buy. One is associated with providing excellent level of customer service, but doing that with as few resources as possible. So there's a pretty close alignment there. And the one in the middle around social media is those who are thinking creatively about how they can respond to technology trends and what's happening in the industry. So I'm going to go through each of these in detail, and so let's get started with the first one. So the first playbook is really concerned with cost and risk. So as I mentioned in my introduction, this typically boils down to companies or customers that you're working with who will be concerned with the money that they're having to spend to keep their existing call center running, whether it's maintaining hardware, paying administrators, buying new servers, or it may be associated with risk. So maybe that technology infrastructure is not as reliable as it needs to be, or maybe it's coming to the end of its supported life. So they're using software or a version of software that's being de-supported from their vendor, and they're facing a challenge. They're having to look at upgrading that software, which has its own risks and costs. And so they're starting to think about how they respond to that. And so the key phrases to listen out for would be things like technology rationalization, or consolidating my call center, or I'm facing an end-of-life application. So when you hear those key phrases, the things that we'd be responding back with comes back to our core positioning, our killer differentiator around the platform. So we'd be talking about time to value, the fact that there's no servers, no software, all of that helping you to provide service at a lower price point so that you can reduce the cost of handling each case. So we've got a real killer positioning to come back with against this. And the detailed playbook that sits behind this is represented on this chalkboard. So there's a lot of detail on this slide. I'm not going to go through every point right now. Much like we have the sales kits on the partner portal, this presentation will be available on the Dreamforce session page afterwards. So I'd encourage you just to take some time next week when things are calming down, you're kind of gathering your thoughts together from the conference. Just look through the details and think about which would apply to your solutions and your product sets, and see how we can combine those together and make sure our messages are aligned. So at the top we talk about what are the compelling events, what are the things driving people to make this decision. So those are the key phrases that you need to be listening out for. Who cares what kind of people in the customer are going to be thinking about this or caring about this. The drivers in this case will all be around fundamentally reducing dollars. So how can I provide that same or better level of service for less cost? And so the kinds of things we might show here would be the agent console or the ease of integration. And the reason we show these is that we're both providing with the agent console, we're providing a solution where agents can provide a better level of service. So they're answering the same question more quickly, which means that they can handle more cases in a day, which fundamentally helps you to reduce costs. So that's how we link it back to cost. And then the other side around integration is again, reducing that risk. So they're currently looking at a complex interconnection of a number of systems, maybe facing integration challenges. By replacing that with our platform, we can take away a lot of that risk by demonstrating how the integration works and how easy that is to do. Again, you're reassuring them about the risk and helping to eliminate some of that risk from their conversations. So the business case is really built around productivity of their call center agents, and then the return on investment around reducing that cost to provide. And just really hit it home, coming back to the risk thing. So the fact that it doesn't break, or that you don't have to worry about servers going down or having people to maintain that, means that you're taking cost out of providing that level of service. So the second playbook is really around companies who are looking for strategic advice. So this is a fantastic opportunity, again, for you as a partner to become a trusted advisor to your company, to your customers. So maybe you're already implementing a Sales Cloud deal. So you're there every day with the customer. You're getting to understand their business model. You're getting to understand what they're concerned about. And as you're sitting there in the lunch table and just talking about other things they're concerned about, there's a good opportunity just to set them thinking about, what are you doing around social media? How are you connecting your call center out to this new channel where people are looking to get help? And they might be starting to think about that. They might be coming to you looking for advice. So it's a great time to become that trusted advisor and help them to think through the strategy. And the great thing about working with Salesforce is that what we provide is real. You can show it to them working and really to bring those ideas to life by showing it to them in a live solution. So it's not just theory. It's not just slideware. As you've seen from the demonstrations the last couple of days, and we can help you to get these demonstrations together as well. We can actually show it to a customer and really help them to understand exactly how that's going to work. And so, the kinds of messages to listen out for would be companies who want to join the conversation online, people who are concerned about where they go onto Facebook or where they go on Twitter to get connected with their customers. And it falls into both categories. Some of them will be real thought-leading companies who want to be seen to leading the way. But actually, it's a big enough news story right now that even some more conservative companies might be worried about getting left behind, maybe getting left behind by some of their competitors. So there's a good set of opportunities there to engage with them and start to drive that strategy. And of course, the value we can bring is with all the right-hand side of the Service Cloud pitch. So connecting your existing call center processes into those newer channels. So opening up into Twitter, opening up into Facebook, exposing solutions out to Google and search engines. So got a good, strong story here. And again, the play comes down to really bringing that to life. So demonstrate through our demo environments how we can connect into social media and show how that works. And I think with the Chatter announcement yesterday, we got some nice stories about looking at social media outside your company, but also providing a platform to do that internally. So maybe you begin a discussion around solving a case. If it's a new case that you haven't seen before, you're trying to debate amongst the team the best solution. Maybe using Chatter to debate those ideas or try and find the right resources or position that back the right way is going to be a good platform to help get your company aligned and get that message back out. So there's some great technology you can bring to bear here. And the business case is all around customer satisfaction. So what's the value of keeping those customers happy, reaching out to them where they're trying to get the right solution, and being seen by them to be a sort of world leader in providing excellent service. And I don't have the stats to hand, but I know that keeping hold of an existing customer and protecting that revenue stream is a number of times cheaper than going out and acquiring a new customer. So if you can keep hold of your existing customers, that's a much better way of protecting your revenue than having to continually go out and win new business. And particularly with a challenging economy, customers who can look after their existing customer base are much better positioned for survival and to keep their profit margins protected. And so the third and final play comes down to really looking at customer satisfaction. So this would be a company who really prides itself on providing the best customer satisfaction. So that's how it keeps its customers, that's how it wins its customers. And so that's obviously going to be a good candidate for us to talk to. But you may also be talking to a customer who's responding to news stories. Maybe they've had good or bad press stories relating to their company. So if it's a good story, that's fantastic. They just need to keep themselves up there in the leading position. Maybe it's a bad story. Maybe they're being panned in the press, or maybe they've had customers using social media against them to really get the word out about a bad experience they had. And the other stat people say, if you do something well, your customer will maybe tell 1 or 2 people. If you do something badly, that customer's going to go out and tell 10 people, or tell everybody they know about how terrible you are. So it's really important to keep those customers happy and get them spreading the good word rather than the bad. So customers who are talking about needing to protect their brand and provide that level of service are the kind of keywords that we're listening out for. And again, the way we'd respond to that is around bringing out the agent productivity. So customer satisfaction is fundamentally about saying, I've got a customer asking a question over here, I've got a set of answers over here, I need to tie the two things together. And the more efficiently I can do that, the better it is for both sides. So as a customer, if I'm calling in, asking a question about how to fix something, if you can give me that answer straight away while I'm on the phone, I'm happy because I didn't have to spend 20 minutes on hold. I didn't have to wait for you to call me back. So it's, it's a good experience for me. But from the vendor's perspective, that means I've spent 5 minutes answering that question rather than having to spend 30 minutes of an agent's time, talking to other people, looking through multiple systems, trying to find the answer, calling them back, getting voicemail. And that's a much cheaper way of providing that same level of service at the same time as improving the experience the customer gets. So we'd be talking about agent productivity, how the knowledge base helps us to match up those answers and filter them down, and providing that single source of truth. But we'd also talk about how customers can use other channels to go and get that help. So reaching out to social media, we've kind of covered already, but if we provide them a portal where they can come in and check the status of their cases, find answers to their own questions, again, that's helping us because that's a cheap way of providing service. I'm not having to pay a person to pick up the phone and speak to them, but it's also helping the customer because they can come in on their own terms, look up the solutions, check the status of their cases. They really feel like they're connected to what's going on. So these are good ways to respond to that. And so again, just summarizing the play there, the demonstrations we'd be showing would be pretty much the basic Service Cloud demo. So showing them how we provide that level of customer service, how the knowledge base underpins all those different channels, how we connect those processes together. Maybe show a little bit of teaser information around social media. So if they're not already talking about it, we're setting them thinking, and we can execute on the second playbook as well. And again, as partners, you've got a great opportunity here because yes, the technology is an important part of making this successful, but what really makes this tick is the processes that sit behind it and the training for the agents that go behind it. So that overall strategy of how do I improve the efficiency of my call center is not just about technology, it's about how you implement it and how you change the business. And I think that's where you can develop your pitch. Maybe it's around a product that you're developing that extends what we do, or maybe it's the implementation services you provide. But if you can wrap that around the core messages that we have, we've got a great conversation together. Back to Matt's point around, if we come in and we're doing a product demo and we're pitching the technology, and at the same time you're talking about how they can improve the efficiencies in their call center, but you're just giving some of the same messages so that the customer's getting that reinforced and really understands where we're both coming from. That's mutually successful for us. So just to summarize, we looked at 3 plays that have been really successful for us. So we looked at cost and risk, so customers who are just trying to reduce the amount of money they're spending on providing customer service, or maybe they're facing some kind of technical risk around the hardware's becoming unsupportable or the software's going out of maintenance. We looked at companies who are interested in connecting out to new media. So people talking about social media, wanting to connect into Facebook or Twitter. And then we looked at how customers can help to protect customer satisfaction of their customers and why that's important to them and how we would respond to that set of requirements. And so the alignment that we think would be valuable is if you can listen out for those key phrases. So we brought out some of the things that people will be talking about. Just kind of keep your ear attuned for customers who are raising those kinds of concerns. Feel free to adopt and apply our messaging in a way that makes sense for you. But if we can keep it aligned and keep it consistent, then it's going to help both of us. And the final point really is that we recognize that you're the coach in this game. So these playbooks are not meant to be kind of dictates of here's how you must do it. It's this is what's worked well for us. But feel free to adapt them to the customer. Feel free to adapt them to your messaging. And obviously, we can combine these plays together. So it's not going to be that a customer is this playbook here and customer number 2 is this playbook here. There'll be combinations of them that are going to fit together. So you'll have customers who are interested in different areas of the product. So personalize them, combine those plays together, and wrap around with your messaging. So that brings it to a close for me. I'd like to hand over to Rob Chang, who's going to be talking to you about the playbook for our custom cloud.
Thanks, Mark. Over to Mark. Thanks, Mark. That was fantastic. I don't think we use that word enough at Salesforce. Fantastic. So what we're going to talk about in my section, if I can get the clicker to work, but I can't. We'll talk a little bit about the market opportunity, then the positioning around salesforce.com and custom cloud, and then I will review our playbook that we have developed internally for opportunity development with the custom cloud. Now, how many people who can remember the big number Mark put up at the beginning of his section? 4.8 billion? 4.2? 4.2. We'll give you 4.8 billion. It's still a big number. I want you to remember that number because when we look at the size of the application development platform opportunity, it is an order of magnitude larger. We're talking 12 times as big as CRM as a whole. So that's not just servers, that's also sales and marketing. This is an enormous opportunity for Salesforce This is where we see most of our growth coming from in the next decade, but it's also a huge opportunity for our partners, for all of you, to be able to ride the wave of the cloud computing penetrating into the application development platform opportunity. For example, one of our customers, Model Metrics, has been able to take advantage of this so far extremely well. They've been able to execute, creating technical competencies around things like Visualforce and Apex and sites. They were responsible for that really great Promethean e-commerce site, if you've seen that yet. Because of these competencies, they've been able to take advantage of, they have over 75 custom cloud development projects. They've created a dedicated development team around custom cloud projects, over 900 implementations. And that not only creates momentum for them, but it's something that actually we leverage. As you see, many of our use cases and many of our case studies are those that come from partner successes with folks like Model Metrics or Aperio or Blue Wolf and so forth. And certainly that's something that you can leverage as well as you start to become successful delivering implementations and services on top of our platform. You've all seen this message. I think you probably are familiar with it. I just wanted to make sure to reiterate what we talked about earlier, what Matt and Mark both talked about, the importance of aligning with this message and maybe complementing this message with your own positioning. 5 times faster, half the cost. Everybody on stage this morning at the keynote talked about how much faster it was. Vitrazo, Lawson, Avon, and how much less expensive it was. The great thing about this is, the reasoning behind this, and we didn't necessarily get into all the little tricklets with Mark's keynotes, and I won't go through the entire thing. But it's important to understand that where it comes from is this notion of pre-built, pre-tested, pre-integrated components that allow you to basically build business functionality, business processes, business logic, model, manage, and automate those processes for your customers and for your clients without having to worry about any of the infrastructure, without having to worry about any of the platform services. And most of the time, if you're looking at traditional or alternative platforms, every single component here, every single tile in this architecture diagram is another potential cost, another potential point of failure, and this huge deck of cards that would fall down every time you have an upgrade of your back-end database server, your middle tier, your object relational mapping layer, your custom, your home-built UI framework. When I was at Borland for 3 years before I came to Salesforce, and in those 3 years, we rebuilt our custom reporting and integration layer 4 times in 3 years. Dozens and dozens and dozens of full-time engineers wasted on effort that added no business value. And customers have that same pain. Another thing that I want to mention before I go to the next slide here is that each of these is also defined and positioned to be a competitive differentiator. And so if, when you see the sales teams for Salesforce talking to customers about these chiclets, it's really likely to attempt to deposition some competitors in the account. So in one slide, our market positioning, customers, and we've done survey after survey after survey, the things that they care about, and you saw this a little bit reflected in Mark's section, cost, and instead of customer satisfaction, it's cost and time to value. Custom application development, they want to make sure they can deliver value fast and they can deliver it predictably and reliably. And the reason it's faster and cheaper, again, it's because of all these pre-existing platform services that you can just configure declaratively. You don't have to build lots and lots of custom code to do it. And you don't have the infrastructure or the maintenance requirements because it's all running in the cloud. And I should also point out that because I'm not going to go into lots of detail in here, it really would behoove you to go and look at the custom cloud sales tools that are available in the partner portal and really become familiar with this messaging and with this positioning. The one thing I will highlight that's really important, and if you went to the keynote, you found this in a packet on your seat this morning. We've been doing work with a number of industry analysts over the last 9 or 12 months to really validate this message around 5 times faster, half the cost. The most recent one is this report from IDC that analyzed in depth 10 different force.com customers and what projects that they had built out in force.com, and they found that indeed it was less than half the cost. On average, they were saving over $500,000 for each application they were building. And they found that actually a large percentage of that cost savings wasn't really the infrastructure. There were some savings from the infrastructure, it's true. But a lot of that was because of labor, because of the high expense of having really qualified technical people who can build, who can maintain, who can upgrade all these different moving parts, and being able to use them for much more high-value work, doing innovation and managing valuable business processes as opposed to doing plumbing. Also, what's interesting here is that even though you're delivering applications faster, you're delivering them with less expense, they're actually getting better quality at the end. Their applications are running with less downtime on the cloud than they would on premise, and with fewer requests for the IT help desk. You may have seen some of our previous analyst research around this validation as well. We have the Galarith report and we have the Nucleus report also in the partner portal as one of your tools. And so let's talk a little bit about the playbook that we are training our internal sales force with. There's really 5 steps that we emphasize: how to get in the door, particularly with the CIO and with the IT organization, how to really nail that first meeting, how do you position it, how do you give the pitch, what do you have to demo. Really, really key, what is that first application out of their IT backlog that really proves out the platform, that proves out the benefits, that application that really helps you evaluate, do the proof of concept, and really come back with an understanding of the benefits of the platform. And how do you help make sure the customer is successful with that? And then finally, you want to sell on value, of course. And when it comes to our relationship with our partners, what we found is that the steps in this playbook where partners really, really add value are these 3. How to get in the door, get that first meeting, and then really helping to understand the landscape of their IT environment, finding that first step and helping them be successful with that. And so one of the challenges that we've had traditionally with Salesforce is, our sales teams really, really good with the sales and the marketing and the service line of businesses. They really know how to speak that language, and that's the expertise they've cultivated. We are working with them, of course, to help them become better at speaking the communication, the language of IT. But oftentimes we find our partners, our implementation partners, our ISV partners, our consulting partners are really, really close, have a closer sense of what the IT organization's issues are, what kind of initiatives are going on there, how that might map to pain points that salesforce.com and force.com can help solve, whether it's a consolidation or a legacy modernization. You heard Lawson this morning talking about Lotus Notes, right? There's a big opportunity to replace some of these legacy systems. And you often also have relationships with these people already. You know who the key influencers are. Sometimes it's not in the CEO's office. Sometimes it's not in the CIO's office. Sometimes there's just this crotchety old developer somewhere that happens to have the ear of the executive. So, the partners are really, you guys are really important and key in helping us find and engage with these influencers in IT. And then again, nailing the first pitch. And this is actually the same man you saw this morning, James Shepard from Vertrazo. He's shaved since this picture. But the pitch is really the same as we see on our website, 5 times faster, half the cost. And so again, aligning to that message is important. What's even more important, though, is how do you find that killer app, that one application that's just going to open everybody's eyes in IT to what they can do, the potential on the platform. And what we found from our best practices, from our sales consultants, from our SEs, is really you want to find something that's moderate in complexity. And the reason you want to do that is it can't be too simple. You don't want a Mickey Mouse application. And I say that because I actually did once have a project with Disney, and the application was something where you want to track where Mickey, the character in the Mickey outfit was in Disneyland, and make sure there weren't 2 in the same spot. But it was just this little toy application. It was something, a side project. It had no business value. And if there's no business value, and it's not really worth it to the customer to put a lot of effort, energy, and resources behind that project, then ultimately, no matter how fast you are developing that and how good of an application you build, no one's really going to care. The line of business owners aren't going to care, and the executives aren't going to care. So you need to find applications that do demonstrate some business value. They scratch an itch. They solve some pain. And that also allows you to demonstrate some of the benefits of the platform with respect to the reporting infrastructure, the automatically generated user interface, the automatic workflow, the globalization, internationalization, and so forth. On the other hand, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. So you want to be able to demonstrate quick success. If they thought they were going to have to take 6 months to develop this application, and you're able to develop it in 4 weeks, that's a big deal. If you take a product that's way too large in scope, even with the productivity benefits of the platform, you're not going to be able to deliver it in a time frame that's going to help you really drive that sales cycle forward. And of course, you want to make sure you retain upsell opportunities for more applications and more users going forward. So what our company's building on the platform, I could do a whole session, I could do hours and hours and hours about all the different applications you can see customers and partners being successful with on the platform. And you've seen a lot of them in the keynotes and on the expo floor. Everything from project management, ERP style, accounting, finance, recruiting, IT management. You saw the Agile, the Scrum application this morning. retail, distribution. What's sort of common, though, in most of these sort of the sweet spot of a lot of these applications that we found have been really successful, really come down to 4 things. And I kind of do it in the order of sort of bottom up from an architectural perspective. So in terms of the characteristics of the data, really good fitting applications are those that are really well matched to relational database. They have structured data. You're talking about taking care of things like inventories, materials, people, projects, things that need, relational integrity, right? You want to make sure that these things, maintain their relationships. You have to be able to support search. You have to be able to support ad hoc querying, auditing, and reporting. And just as important, in terms of what's actually being implemented here, it's most of the time where you're really successful is when you have a important core business function or business process you're trying to model, you're trying to automate, you're trying to manage, right? So things that require platform components like the workflow engine, like the approval rules. And then from a user management perspective, it's really what I call sort of the enterprise user management characteristics, the need to have administration of different types of users. So you need to add and remove and provision them, but they also typically would have users that have different levels of access, different views, and different access controls of different data. And just as important, there's often in these applications a need, a requirement to understand hierarchy or roles, or make sure that in your HR application or your recruiting application that your VP can see everything that the people who report to him can see. So that ability to do sharing and security profiles is one of the key aspects as well. And then finally, at the top layer, from a user interface perspective, a lot of these applications are global in scope. We have global employee communities. You have global partner and customer communities. So the ability to do internationalization without having to do any extra coding and extra work, automatically getting multi-language, multi-currency, and also to be able to meet your users, your Salesforce, whoever it is, where they are, mobile, in their browser or with a rich client. Some of the examples you might have seen with the Adobe Air offline client technologies, very, very interesting. And then, it's one thing to talk about what's a good fit, but it's more helpful also to get a sense for what then does it imply about what's not a good fit. So projects where you're primarily working with non-relational unstructured data, so video, audio, software binaries. We do have content, so we are good at managing documents, but I'm talking about very, very large binaries like video, software binaries. No business process. I talked about a fit being, you're trying to model or manage a business process. Basically, if all you're trying to do is just some raw computing, right? You're doing, if the project has to do with some kind of scientific application where it's going off and running a bunch of simulations, you're doing protein folding or you're looking for extraterrestrial aliens, it's not necessarily a really good fit. If you're doing like brute force decryption sort of thing, and by the way, I saw a really good article about using EC2 for that exact use case. They were trying to brute force some lost passwords for a client. And it actually worked pretty well for that. But again, not really leveraging what force.com, all the value-added platform components. So that's not really in the sweet spot for force.com. Would be a good first application. And from the user perspective, if you don't have users or don't have very many users, you do have some kind of data mining application or encoding application where there's one user and it has to do all this work for them. It really, again, is not taking advantage of the security and the sharing model and the user management. And also, if there's no UI at all, there's no need for UI because there's some kind of a plumbing, infrastructure, system application, integration hub, engine, those types of things, internal IT project, infrastructure projects really aren't necessarily a good fit for the cloud either. And now transitioning into sort of the go-to-market, we've been pushing for, I think, the last 9 months or so, force.com free edition. And just to give you an overview of what that is, anybody can go to the website, force.com, sign up. Their first application free. And that includes basically one custom app, up to 10 objects, and up to 100 users. And just so you guys know that, if you're in an account with our sales team, our sales teams have flexibility on some of these numbers. So if it turns out that the great proving point that you can make with this POC, or simple evaluation application is 15 custom objects and 200 users, we can make that work. But the reason that we actually are really interested in this model of sort of getting them started with a free first application is this notion of seed and grow, or you might have heard of land and expand. And it's based on some analysis that we did that Salesforce customers who have any force.com licenses, 80% of them actually build more than one application. And so there's this real sense that there's momentum behind. Once you start building, it kind of grows organically within the organization. And I don't know if any of you have seen this YouTube video. There was cars.com, and Granicus customer testimonials in it. Something about admins love salesforce.com, something like that. And one of the guys basically just out and says, force.com application is like business crack. Basically, you build one thing, and then the guy in the next department sees it. He wants it. Some guys over in the other office wanted to use it. And it really is something that we found and proven out over and over again. Getting in with that first application and making it successful is really key. One way that we found our partners, one model that our partners have been really successful with helping in this part of the sales cycle is really offering sort of a fixed package, sort of a fixed price package, something like a quick start package that allows customers to take advantage of some help understanding their backlog and their IT application portfolio and which ones would map well to the cloud, helping them do a proof of concept, and they really need to get over this hurdle of one, not really knowing what's a good fit, but also two, not really having a sense of the resource requirements. They don't necessarily know how much they want to spend or how many internal development resources they want to use, but they're really intrigued by the notion of cloud computing. So a package like this can really help them get over the hurdle and get them positioned for future success. And again, 100 or more free user licenses depending on how you structure that deal. And finally, you always want to sell on value and want to close that deal. We have resources in the partner portal, in the custom cloud toolkit, things like TCO calculator, ROI models. We have references from every vertical, from every geography, customer success stories that we can leverage in these accounts to help get you over the finish line. So just to review, the overall playbook for custom cloud, getting in the door with IT, really leveraging those relationships, making sure you align yourself and you complement the messaging and the positioning that Salesforce has around custom cloud. Really finding that first app that's a really good fit to showing the strength of the platform, and then making sure that IT department or that line of business is successful with that first app and can use it to demonstrate the power and the versatility of the platform to the rest of the organization. With that, I think I'd Matt Browning back up here and finish it off. Pay attention to Matt. He's the one with the checks.
That was fantastic, Rob. Fantastic. Start using that word some more. So let's recap a little bit. So we talked for just about the Service Cloud and the Custom Cloud, a bit about our current market positioning, as well as a joint roadmap for opportunity engagement. A few words on this. Both Rob and Mark touched at a high level, and I would describe as our core messages in each of those clouds. But there are absolutely more layers to that. Where do you find it? It's in the partner portal. In the Sales Resource Center, you'll find detailed, let's just take PowerPoint decks, for example. Let's take a custom cloud instance. You're going into a meeting, maybe you're meeting with a client who has a requirement around custom application development, so you're going to put a pitch together and you want to incorporate some custom cloud slides in there. You all have access to that information. So to the point around aligning with our market messaging, go into the partner portal, into the Sales Resource Center. In this case, the Custom Cloud Sales Toolkit will have all of our kind of first call pitch decks, product overview decks, like the analyst studies that Rob mentioned that sort of prove that business case of 5 times faster and half the cost. You have those white papers, so you can print them out and you can leave them behind. So a lot of resources there. And then when it comes to the roadmap for opportunity engagement, every deal is different, but this is our overarching framework. Okay, so this is what we should mutually think about as terms of our joint engagement strategy as we're pursuing these deals together. So what are you going to do with this information? We want, it kind of almost goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. We want to uncover new opportunities, and especially around SFA, which sort of the core bread and butter of salesforce.com. If you are working on an SFA opportunity, like Mark mentioned earlier, listen out for those key criteria. It's trying to uncover additional opportunity where it exists. If you're working with a client who's not a current salesforce.com customer, and if they do have custom application development needs, work with us to help position the custom cloud in there. I also want to reiterate a point that Mark made, which is we absolutely recognize that you provide a unique value and service to your clients, and the point here is not to tell you exactly what to position, but we want to think about how we can reinforce our core messaging and how you can sort of align your own unique value proposition with that of Salesforce so that we kind of sound to the customer, like one unified engine, right? So we're giving you our playbooks, we're giving you our marketing resources, and we want you, to the degree possible, to align your own messaging and positioning with that of salesforce.com. Again, I've mentioned this many times, but in the partner portal, you can go to the Sales Resource Center. It's one of the major sections within the portal. And then in there, on the product section specifically, you'll find sales toolkits. And we have sales toolkits for the various clouds. And we also have information around industries and white papers and FAQs and pricing and so on and so forth. So your go-to resource is the partner Sales Resource Center. So the promotion that we wanted to talk about is how we're sweetening the pot with $5,000, $10,000, call them a spiff, for our partners that bring us deals in the service and in the custom clouds. So you probably can't read the fine print at the bottom, but high level, here's what it is. The first 5 deals to close that are partner sourced in either the service or custom cloud will qualify for a $10,000 spiff. Provided it closes by January 31st and provided it meets a minimum of $50,000 US in ACV. And this is still very much a wide open contest. I think we may have the first one that just closed, so minimum I think there's 4 of these awards remaining. But we're coming up towards the end of the year. We want to drive participation around this. There's a lot of activity at the end of the year, and maybe to some people it might sound like a little bit late to kind of source something and get it closed by the end of January, but believe me, it does happen. So keep this in mind and leverage it within your own organizations and help us drive business in this area. So we're going to wrap up here, and then we're going to move into Q&A, but just by way of takeaways, alignment is the key takeaway here, message alignment. We want to enhance the messaging. We want to identify opportunities that are in these massive marketplaces outside SFA, in the Service Cloud and in the Custom Cloud. Leverage the resources we provided. Again, we're doing a monthly selling success webinar. If you're for some reason not getting invitations to that, let us know. Partner Sales Productivity at salesforce.com. But everybody that's in here is of course invited to these webinars that we're putting on. If anybody is new to the Salesforce family and you don't have a partner portal login, you can get one right over here in the partner conversations area today. By way of next steps, I think you've probably seen this slide in some of the other sections already, but we absolutely want to get feedback from you on these sessions. So we'd encourage you to go into the portal and fill out the survey for us. And we're also going to be making slides and video and all this content available to you. Especially in Mark's section, there was a lot of detail on some of those slides. So we want you to have access to this and take it away and use it as your own learning resources. So it's time I'd like to invite Mark and Rob, if you'd please join me up on stage here. And we just kind of wanted to open up the floor for questions. I think we have a couple of microphones. I'm not sure if microphones are necessary or not, but we'll start right here with the gentleman right in front.
Yeah, I'm curious what level of pre-sales or sales engineering resources you're finding you need to close one of these. If you're maybe 4 weeks, so you have to put an SC on the product.
Okay, so the question is what sort of pre-sales resources are needed to work deals of this type? It depends on several factors. It depends on the technical nature of the project. I think it's fair to say custom cloud projects tend to get to be more technical. But if the question is specifically around engagement of salesforce.com sales engineers, they'll be engaged on. Again, it sort of depends on the market segment, if we're talking corporate sales or field sales or the deal size within that. But they'll get engaged on most every opportunity that meets our sort of minimum threshold.
And I think we can just add a little bit to that. So some of the activity they might be involved in is our account executive comes in and does the first meeting. They'll be there to explain what it does and get into the detail of the product. Probably the limit of what they might do is we would follow that up with what we call a build it now day, which is give us a process from an application or a simple application, and we'll come in and spend 4 hours, 6 hours with you and your team, and we'll kind of roll the sleeves up and we'll start to build that application out with you live. And that's typically something that an SE would do, and then from that point onwards we'd be looking to get into a pilot, and that would be ideally a paid pilot where a partner is involved. So that's kind of the classic SE level engagement. We certainly, unless there's a really good business case for it, we wouldn't want them taking more than a couple of days of build effort, and that's really, I think, where we want to share the playbook with you. Is that's a great opportunity for us to engage a partner who can put a package together around that. We're interested in that being a paid engagement rather than a pre-sales investment.
There are a lot of resources out on the App Exchange and salesforce.com labs to clone and mold. I'm wondering if is there a toolbox that you guys have internally not published on the App Exchange, or some modules that tend to be popular, pre-done things that you could
Yes. So I think the question was, do we have an internal toolkit of things that we can reuse for platform build sessions or demos? And the answer is yes, we do. So we have template demonstration environments, which are kind of complete built application-specific ones. So for the Service Cloud in particular, we'll have one with lots of dashboards and data and some of the processes built. For Visualforce Apex development, which might be useful things to reuse for custom cloud projects. We have a set of demo components that people have created. A lot of those are actually published on the App Exchange. So if you look under Salesforce Labs under the App Exchange, a lot of the output from those pre-sales efforts is under Salesforce Labs packages. I mean, the other thing to do is just reach out to your local account executive or mainly SE and just say, hey, this is what we're looking to try and build. Do you have anything that we can reuse that would help? I guess the caveat with that is, these are demo bits of software. So, we don't warrant them. We don't, they haven't been strictly tested. They haven't been performance tested. So, they're good to illustrate a concept. You may not necessarily want to use that to go out and build a production system. But yeah, I mean, the question is, come ask us or go look on the App Exchange.
It's about the developer freeforce.com edition. Is that made available through TrialForce as well? Through TrialForce? Meaning darting and TrialForce and then...
Just go to force.com and you click on freeforce.com edition. It's a separate process that manages that. Okay. Yeah, and for existing Salesforce customers, they can just talk to the sales team. Their AE can just go in and add 100 free users with no additional need to do registration or anything.
We want to get new customers. That's our...
Sure.
Our model. And we want to entice them with the first free.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely.
But it cannot be done through TrialForce, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's a different process.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Now, as a follow-up question, even though it is free, say, to the customer in terms of the force.com, I understand that from what you said, we can charge the customer whatever we want.
Sure, for implementation services, of course, and that's usually the model that they use. The licenses are free from us, but in order to build out exactly the UI they want in Visualforce or additional custom logic in Apex, they're going to come to one of you to help do that.
Yeah, and I think the key takeaway on that is to create a package that minimizes risk in the eyes of the buyer. So we're kind of doing that by offering the Force.com free edition. And we think what's been successful is when partners go to market with a fixed price services package to really prove success behind that first app. And then, like Rob was explaining, once you've proven success with that first app, it just rolls and rolls and rolls. And that's where additional revenue comes in for both the partner and Salesforce.
Question in the back.
If you want me to talk into this. I have a couple conversations with AEs about Force.com, and interestingly, I've been told that Force.com isn't for ERP applications. You can't use it for that, or high volume transaction type applications, for example, logistics companies or manufacturing companies, which doesn't ring true to me, but
Yeah.
but that's what I've been told. So I'd like to understand. You put some restrictions up there on force.com around high transactions relative to computation. What are the limits? I mean, could we take a $1 billion company that builds rail cars, for example, who's looking at redoing their whole platform and talk to them, as well as a small $10.5 million a year company that's looking at needing an ERP system, and now they're considering going with Microsoft Dynamics?
Okay, let me answer that a couple of ways. One is that in terms of the specific limits for UE or EE orgs, in terms of how many API calls and transactions, those things are available on the platform additions page. There's a chart that lays it out, and it says, here's the standard amount you get as part of this organization. You can pay more. To give you a sense, and yes, we do have a lot of ERP examples you saw this morning in the keynote, so that information is a little bit old. The positioning around, don't want to go after ERP, that's no longer the case. But in terms of transaction volume, some of the guidance I can give you is based on examples from some of our largest customers. And some of our largest customers, we're looking at tens of millions of transactions a day. That's how high. Now, if you have projects that, let's say it's like, every single phone call from a mobile provider, consumer mobile phone provider, has to be logged. It's the instantaneous phone. That would be, hundreds and hundreds of millions, and probably would be beyond what we currently are really a resource to do. If you look at trust.salesforce.com, we're only running at 150, 200 transactions per day overall, right? So you can estimate some limits between there, and once you get in tens of millions of transactions a day, it's probably somewhere you want to look at talking to our architects and making sure if that's possible. They also, I should mention some of the other characteristics of our largest customers: 100,000 users, subscribers. Tens of thousands of custom objects, tens of millions of records. So basically, tens of millions of records, tens of millions of transactions. As you get bigger than that, you're looking at hundreds of millions of records, 100 millions of transactions a day. That's when you start hitting up against some of the limits that you want to start talking about. Do our architects think it would really work?
Yes, please.
You mentioned that what we built for was going to be like fixed price starting package. But given the nature of these applications that different customers will have different needs, how can we really do that? What does that mean? Does it mean it's 5 days worth of consulting work? Or how do you see what I mean? I can build a package for SFA because I know what typically you need in SFA. But in a custom app, depends on the need. How do you do that? I mean, how are those packages offered?
Yeah. Well, one way to limit the scope of those things is to use some of the limits that we use. Like on the freeforce.com edition, we limit you by how many objects that you're talking about, how many users you're talking about, how many applications and tabs you're talking about. That's one way to sort of constrain the scope. And the other one is, based on hours. You can come up with your own model. We have partners who think that they do things differently. They can have a reusable process, whatever it is. They have components they built that are proprietary that they feel for a particular space. They can do it with even fewer resources or do even more complicated things. So it's totally up to you on terms of how you want to sort of constrain the scope of these projects. But those are some examples of what we've seen before.
Is there a question in the back? Same thing. Okay.
Okay. Sir, over here.
Ruben Shelliff out of the Box Consulting. Thank you for the webinars, by the way. I went on the one before the previous, one before last, I guess, and it was really, really great. So
thank you.
Keep
Great.
on the good work on that. Question about the different entities that could be involved from Salesforce's perspective in consulting. So there are the partners around, but could you please clarify who from Salesforce would be involved in consulting engagements, and where are the lines between those SCs, customer success managers, and consultants, or any other names that you have for the different groups?
Sure. So with respect to if you're going, let me just clarify the question. So if you're going to go do a services deal and you want to partner with Salesforce Professional Services, is that right?
That's actually where I'm coming from.
Yep.
The question would be, even if I'm not involved. If Salesforce would be looking at a deal of X users and the customer is asking for professional services to be involved, some kind of consulting, implementation, or revamp, or analysis, how would Salesforce, which resource within Salesforce of the ones that I mentioned or others would you use in order to fulfill that request from a client? How would you utilize other consulting companies like partners, like myself? So that's to clarify the whole model as you see it. And then, yes, how do we work together?
Mm-hmm. Well, so the model is a Salesforce team led by the account executive is paired with an internal professional services engagement manager, and that person serves as the primary customer-facing point of contact during the sales cycle, and is largely responsible for developing the statement of work or scoping out the project work. Now, having said that, it's no secret that our services organization is there for specific reasons, and by and large, we are pushing more and more and more of implementation work to our partner community. The point being that our ProServe organization is, I think it's fair to say, is more and more selective about the deals that we actually engage on. And our sort of default stance is to look to the partner community for implementation services just on a regular default or go-to-market basis.
Yeah, a little bit over, but we can definitely talk to you out in front.
Yeah, I think we do have to stick. Notice people are lining up, so we're going to go ahead and call it there. We'll be glad to hang around and answer other questions that might be there. But I want to thank you all very much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you around Dreamforce. Thanks, everybody.